Welcome back to In the Studio with Kevin Savage, a podcast for producers. This part of the podcast, we're going to talk about some music news. Every episode, I hope to provide you with a couple of stories. Today, we got 3 stories of just something that I find interesting or important or breaking, which this next story is. And kind of just have a quick chat about it. I'm not going to be super knowledgeable about all the topics, but hopefully over the course of this podcast, I gain more knowledge and then am able to provide more insight. So these particular discussions, at least in this episode, are going to be relatively surface level based on what I'm reading in the article. All 3 of these articles were released over the course of this last weekend, as well as today. The first one, the headline reads, "Man Arrested and Charged in Connection with Mac Miller's Death." I remember when Mac Miller passed away last year, I honestly don't really listen to him, but I've heard of him. And if you haven't heard of him, you've probably been living under a rock. You've probably heard his song before if you are, under 40, you might not know all of his music. You might not know all about him, but you'll have heard his name. Anyway, the 26-year-old rapper died last year from a toxic mix of fentanyl, cocaine, and alcohol. And the DEA apparently have arrested a 28-year-old man who lived in Hollywood Hills named Cameron James Petit. And the man has been charged with 1 federal count of distribution of controlled substance. The criminal complaint, prosecutors allege that on September 5th, 2018, which is like almost a year to this date ago, today is Wednesday, September 4th, 2019, Petit delivered counterfeit oxycodone pills that contain fentanyl, a dangerous synthetic opioid. I'm sure you all know what fentanyl is. It is terrible and is destroying a good chunk of this country. As well as cocaine and Xanax to Mac Miller, who was born Malcolm James McCormick, and then Mac Miller was found 2 days later dead. Anyway, he was 26 years old, and honestly, it's a tragedy. Anytime these famous artists die, it truly is a tragedy. I remember, I think the big one that hit me was when Chester died. Was it a year or 2 ago? And then when Avicii died, that was also a big hit. Since I do tend to be more interested in the electronic music scene, those ones were some big ones. Obviously, Linkin Park, band from my childhood. Sad I didn't get a chance to actually see them play. And I remember when I found out that he had passed away, it just hit me. And I don't really feel that level of hit when it comes to celebrity deaths. I don't know. I don't get super involved in following celebrities, but I think just knowing that there'll be no more music by Chester really affected me. And I can honestly imagine how much the news of Mac Miller's death affected people who were really close to his really invested in his music and really loved his music. So a big hit to the rap hip hop community. And it's a good thing they figured out who this was. And it's sad that this even happened, but unfortunately this is life. And, we just got to take the hits as they come. And, as more information comes of the story, I will make sure to, briefly talk about it or mention if there's more news and see if I'm probably going to read a little more into this just so I can get a better idea. So that way, next time we talk about it, I'm able to give you better information and not just this surface level information I'm giving you right now. So yeah, they allegedly found the individual involved with Mac Miller's death. Now, for the second story, also a rough one for the hip hop community, but it's And it's also sad, to be honest. This next story is also sad, mostly because this guy also made really good music. It's just very unfortunate the choices, decisions that he made, and obviously the people who are affected by his choices. It's even worse for them, and it's just sad that this exists. I wish that, if I had a magic wand or a genie, I would absolutely wish that this just wasn't something that existed. And this story, also coming to you from Pitchfork, this story broke today as well, is that R. Kelly's federal sex crimes trial has been set for April 2020. So hopefully we'll get more information, and they'll figure out what to do with R. Kelly. I used to really like some of R. Kelly's music, Ride With Me. That was not R. Kelly, and I feel like an idiot. Remix to Ignition. I just confused Nelly with R. Kelly, and wow. Anyway, Remix to Ignition, I remember really enjoying that song when I was younger. And, growing up, I think it came out when I was in middle school. So a long time ago. I really enjoyed liking it. And I think I remember hearing about R. Kelly and just being like, man, I like that song, but damn, why are you doing that? You have the power to not get yourself in this trouble, to not make these decisions with your life, leave these little girls alone. This is it's just come on, R. Kelly, what are you doing? So he is being held currently without bond and is pled not guilty to sex abuse related charges in Chicago. U.S. District Judge Harry D. Liebenweber has set a tentative trial date for R. Kelly's federal case in Chicago, according to the Associated Press and Chicago Tribune. And it looks like it will be held Monday, April 27th, 2020. As I said earlier, he's being held in jail without bond and has been arrested in July and was arrested in July on a 13-count federal indictment that alleges he sexually abused minors and conspired to obstruct justice. He has pled not guilty to the charges. Furthermore, it says, along with Chicago federal court, Kelly is facing criminal sex abuse-related charges in a Brooklyn federal court in Cook County. A Brooklyn federal court in Cook County, Illinois, and in Hennepin County, Minnesota. He has pled not guilty to the charges in Brooklyn and Cook County. So yeah, I mean, this is something that's been in the news, and especially with all the Me Too related stuff in the news as well. It's all coming to light, and it's disgusting. It's truly disgusting, and it's sad. These are talented artists who could be producing incredible music and really just enriching our lives, but instead they're out there, at least in R. Kelly's case, diddling little children. And it's come on, dude, what are you doing? Just stop. Now, maybe he can't stop. I don't know. Maybe, but it's just why? There's really no excuse. You are this incredibly insanely wealthy man. You could have there's so many women out there who would love to be with you, but you choose to go for someone who is illegal, who is, a minor, who is not your age. And, I don't know what's going on in his brain. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why, and maybe we'll learn more about it. I'm going to probably do some more reading into it, because right now I'm pretty much going off of a 300-word article, which is, not super in depth. But I did want to bring up, that case as well, since I know it's important. It just broke recently about the trial date. Him being in trouble has been around for a while. I remember hearing about this years ago. But this actual trial date being set is new news. Now, moving on from two more sad and unfortunate stories, we've got a third story that I think is pretty cool. I know that he's not the most not everyone loves him. A lot of people love to hate him. I'm kind of indifferent. I think that he's got some good sounds. I think that, personally, I like H3H3, so, that's always interesting, him being friends with Ethan and Gila and whatnot, his music is catchy, so, I've definitely enjoyed his music, and, there are definitely some sample packs that have been made from kind of his sound and style that I've taken advantage of because they're good sounds. Love him or hate him, he is got a lot of big names on his latest album, and this story, also coming from Pitchfork, being released on August 30th, is Ozzy Osbourne, SCA, more to feature on Post Malone's new album. So Post Malone is releasing a new album, and according to an Instagram post by Travis Scott, Meek Mill, Young Thug, Future, and others. Let's see if I've got the post in front of me. DaBaby, Future, Halsey, Meek Mill, Lil Baby, Ozzy Osbourne, Travis Scott, SCA, Swally, and Young Thug are all going to be featured on Post Malone's new album, Hollywood Bleeding. That's big news. That's exciting. It'll be interesting to hear what it sounds like and to kind of see the response. I'll definitely be watching for Needle Drop's review of the album. I'm sure he'll do one. I'm sure he's probably already talked about this, but I haven't done a lot of digging on that regard for today or recently, so I'm going to dig in a little bit this after I finish up this podcast. But I guess earlier this week he announced that his next album, Hollywood's Bleeding, was due to drop September 6th, so pretty soon. And Post took to Instagram to tease the record's contributors, and he shared his latest single, Circles. I haven't actually listened to it. I'm about to listen to it, but I haven't listened to it before talking about this article on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon earlier this month. And so this is honestly pretty exciting. I was actually listening to some Ozzy and Eminem music earlier today, kind of trip back to nostalgia on Changes, and so it'll be exciting to hear how Ozzy plays into the mix. I've never been a huge fan of Ozzy. There's definitely been a few songs of Black Sabbath I've liked. I like Halsey. I like Travis Scott. I like some Future. So I'm definitely excited to kind of hear what this album is going to sound like and kind of see its effect in the music community and kind of the responses that it gets. So that is the music news for this episode, and stay tuned for some final thoughts.